coach's convention, and I ran out of time at the end, so I'm going to try and go fast early, and then maybe coast into the finish. We shall see. So this is, right, intersection of faith, vocation, calling, and passion. So I try to think about that in regard to, my background and Christopher Doc and what that means. I lived down the road, grew up in Hatfield, went to Penview. How many people went to Penview? All right, so half. That's good. Graduated from Christopher Doc, went to Heston College. That was my first job. I was there for 6 years, and then I've been at Messiah College for the last 12 years. It's interesting. It just changes, it's always perspective in regard to where you are and where you're from. When I'm in Kansas, they say, where are you from? I'm like, well, Pennsylvania. The closer I got, I'm like, well, Philadelphia. And then north of Philadelphia. And then, well, right off the first extension, first exit off the northeast extension. Somebody who really knows, you're like, well, I grew up at the intersection of Cowpath and 40-foot. Do you know how weird that sounds when you say that out loud, that you're from, live at intersection of Cowpath and 40-foot? That's true, that's where I grew up. So here's Penview. So 76. Now, I was hoping to help, and maybe I should have asked my mom. I get confused between kindergarten and first grade. Who was Miss Black? Is that Miss Black? All right, so she was kindergarten teacher for a long time. Still, there's a couple people I stay in contact with in here. I asked one of my players to pick me out. I don't know if you could do that right now. So the first person he picked out was the girl in the top corner. That was who he first picked out. Then he picked the girl in the bottom corner. Then he finally picked me in the blue right there, third in from the bottom right. So pictures are funny, right? You enjoy those. So this is... You may be saying to yourself, Brad, why did you put a photo of a girl wearing a tie on there? And I think that's a good question. I think that's a fair question. Unfortunately, that is me, with not only a mullet, but you can see a hint of a hoop earring. But the funny thing about photos and yearbooks is there's more than one picture in it. So is Jerry here? I thought I saw Jerry still rocking the handlebars, right?
Yeah.
He looks good. I'm all about facial hair. I like that. I had Jerry in class. Rose. Where's Rose? I love Rose. She's awesome. Although, it's funny. I pull up a bunch of these teachers that are still here. I was an okay student. Okay, I wasn't the best. I think I got a bad grade one time in home ec. I didn't bake a pie or something like that. So I'll keep working on that. So he's doing okay. He's got a little salt and pepper going on there. It's supposed to be baby salt. Is he in here? Oh, there he is in the back. I like it. I needed to do a little bit better in your class. I was in Colombia. Down in South America with the men's soccer team on a sports outreach, and I was probably the worst Spanish speaker there, so I needed to do better. Barb was our PE teacher here, and so now she's the librarian. She brought the yearbook from my graduation. We were looking at some pictures. So, Timmy's. Tim, I don't know why they're laughing at you. You look good, you full beard. Taught me how to shoot basketball, right? Beat principal. Did not forget. Ron's serious, right? You look at him. He's in it to win it, right? You look great. Where's Ron? Is Ron in here? Hey, Ron, I like it. You don't look much different. Just some good home cooking, that's all. Here's my favorite. So was a junior when I was a senior. Baby face, right? He's got a little salt and pepper going up top as well, right? He still looks better than the first picture I put up, which is of me, so. All right, so I'm going to talk about three things. Talk about purpose, also want to talk with you about excellence, and I also want to talk with you about growth mindset. Stuff that we talk about quite a bit at Messiah. So, when I had coached at Heston for 6 years and then came back to Messiah 2001. So I've been there, this is my 12th year. 8 of those years I was an assistant coach for Dave Brandt. And one of the things that he did that was unbelievable was he knew what he wanted. He had a vision for what a Christian college soccer team was like. And they just won a national championship the year before in 2000. Since then, we've won 9 national championships at Messiah, and I think it's all predicated on the overriding sense of purpose and the vision that Dave Brandt had. So I want to talk about that a little bit. First is the point versus the purpose. Athletics, soccer, the point, it's to win, right? You've got 2 goals, you got a ball and a ref. The point of a job is to make money. That's the point. That's not necessarily the purpose. Because if you just make money, in the end, it's hollow. And if you win, the highs of winning are never as close to the lows of losing. It's not fulfilling. So being able to have a purpose, I think, transcends the minor things. And you guys are talking about passion, you guys are talking about vocation and what you're going to do, what you're calling. I think that has a lot to do with it. On all of our levels, what does God want? I think He wants us to worship Him. He wants us to grow, right? To develop our faith. And I think part of worshiping Him is taking time to read in the Bible, spend time with Him. And then I think when your cup is filled, right, you can have an impact on others. Makes sense, right? Cup overflows and you're able to have an impact. But it's required that you fill your cup. So that sense of purpose, I think, helps develop a vision. For Dave, that was true. A vision for what that looks like. And if you can have a vision, and that sense of purpose, I think you get fired up about it, right? It doesn't matter whether you're an accounting major or you want to be a teacher. If you have a purpose, it feeds into having a vision, and it feeds into being passionate about something. At Messiah, men's soccer, our overriding sense of purpose, we want to be the best place in the country to play soccer. There's other teams that may have better records, maybe other teams that have better players. That's fine. We want to have the best culture and environment, the best team chemistry, the best style, the best system, the best mentality overall. Just good guys on the team, great teammates. And so that has an impact on the choices and decisions that we make. So having a purpose is critical to who we are and what we do. Pursue excellence. So one of the things that we talk a lot about in Messiah is excellence. And I think some points about this. First of all, Leighton Shoemaker and Dave Brandt were a couple coaches that influenced me. I would also say Roger Mast, who was my high school coach, and Matt Moyer's high school coach when we were here, I think had an impact on that. Leighton passed away this past year, January 1st. He passed away. He was 70. He's young. He's out on a walk. He's like buku healthy. But I think he exhibited for me as a young person what it meant to do a great job and to pursue that excellence. For me, mediocrity is the norm, right? I mean, it's easy. I mean, I know there's students in here. Maybe some classes you work really hard, and some classes you just do the bare minimum. And I think that's normal. I think that's normal across the board. I think you have mediocrity in the business world. I think you have mediocrity in regard to teaching, and I think that's normal. To do great job, that's hard. It's really difficult. I have here, good is the enemy of great. At Messiah College, we talk a lot about the book that Jim Collins wrote, Good to Great, and what that means. What does it take for a company to go from being good to being great? And there's a lot of parts to that. For us, I think it's really difficult. I think it's hard. It requires two things. It requires quantity and quality. How many of you guys heard of the 10,000 hour rule? You heard of that rule? How many hours you got to put in to experience excellence? But it's not just that. I'm going to talk about this in a second. I'm going to talk about the quality as well. So it's not just the hours that you got to put in. You want to be good at piano? You got to put in the time. Right? Doesn't matter what you're fired up about. You got to put in the time. You got to put in the effort. But you can't do it average, right? You got to do it really well. And that's where the quality comes in. And the focus isn't necessarily in winning. Isn't necessarily being on the top. It's that pursuit. It's the emphasis being on the process. Pitfalls, when you're just striving for excellence, when you're trying to do it right every time, taking care of the small details, it's hard. Two pitfalls, I think, primarily for Christians, is just pride. It's just all about you. You can even do it in the name of Christ, but in reality, it's about you. So you got to be careful when you're seeking excellence that you're giving God the glory. The other thing is, right, burnout. It's hard. It's difficult. It's challenging. So let me talk about the mundanity of excellence. There was a guy called Chambliss who wanted to study swimmers. So he looked at swimmers that were just kind of like town swimmers that just swam in the summertime, and then like the next group were like kids that were trying to get to nationals, and then Olympic style swimmers. And he wanted to find out what the difference was between those swimmers. And as a result, he came up with a definition. There's a lot of words here, it's fine. I just want to walk through it a little bit with you. So let me read it, and then we'll talk about it. I'm looking at my watch. I'm okay. Okay, excellence is accomplished through the doing of actions ordinary in themselves. So they're ordinary. They're not extraordinary. Performed consistently, carefully, habitually. So it's a habit. Compounded together, added up over time. Right? Picture playing piano. What does it take? You just got to put in the time. You got to put in the hours. You got to work at it. While these actions are qualitatively different, and I'll come back to that, from those of performers at other levels, these differences are neither unmanageable nor, taken one step at a time, terribly difficult. The action in itself is nothing special. The care and consistency with which it is, which it is made. Okay, that's what's critical. It's the care and the consistency associated with that pursuit for excellence. I was struck, as I was working on this, about all those teachers that are up there. Those guys have been here for 25 years. How do I define excellence? Man, they've been taking care of the small details. And it's mundane, right? The mundane. It's mundane. It's day after day, week after week, year after year, making sure that you guys do and meet their expectations. And that's hard. They've been doing it for a long time. That's how I define excellence. That's how he defines excellence. What's interesting is in quotes, qualitatively different. That's where it comes to the quality. It's not just mundane and you just do it and you do an average job. It's that you do a great job every time. An athlete said, hey, anybody can be good occasionally, but to be good or to be great at every practice, at every game, every time you show up to work, to be great, man, that's a lot. That requires a lot of effort.